We're back, Jets Chronicles, for this continued Thursday, May 28th, 2026. We put one of these together just a little bit ago, so I guess we'll have more. And maybe this is exactly what we're going to keep doing over the next several days. OTAs, minicamp. A lot to get excited about if you're a Jet fan, because we have been dying for things to get excited about. So we first started off with Aaron Glenn. Now we get Geno Smith, and we have others to follow. Interesting that the Jets channel, their official channel, does not have these interviews. I'm not sure why. I don't know if they have a deal, which wouldn't make any sense with SNY, but SNY, they are able to put these out first. So I get to react to these videos as they happen, or at least as I see them. So let's react. This is the first time I'm getting a chance to watch Geno Smith in an official capacity with the New York Jets in a long time. Let's see what he has to say.
How you doing, Gary? Good seeing you. Yes, good seeing you guys. Thank you.
Gino, was there a time, where you came here and it was just kind of surreal? And has that, did you have that feeling when you first got back here?
Yeah, I would say my first day back in the building, just the first, coming in for physicals and just walking down that hall again, it's the very first hall I walked down when I, got drafted. And, all those feelings come back, just great feelings, great memories, seeing my mom in the locker room. And, I started just thinking about, just my first time in the NFL, first time here. But immediately it clicked right back in. I got to get to work. And, I just, got right back to that. And so I'm really excited to be here and, even seeing, all you guys' faces again, it's really cool.
What's it been like learning Frank's offense, and how would you describe it?
It's been, first of all, Coach Reichs has done a phenomenal job with teaching. He's very detailed in the way that he teaches the offense, very meticulous in what he wants from us and how he wants us to execute. It's been great. To answer your question, I think we're building one day at a time. We're competing. We're getting better every single day. And Coach Reich is leading that ship. And, with him at the helm, man, I feel really great about it.
What's the process been like for you getting in sync with Garrett? Because he's obviously such a unique player and he has the ability to improvise on his guys and stuff.
Yeah, it's really, Garrett's a great player, and he makes me better, man. Like, they make it, those guys out there make it really, really simple for me. I just got to read the defense and throw it to, whoever the defense tells me to throw it to, because they're all really good, and there's only one football. That's the bad part about it. I wish I could throw it to all of them, but it's only one football, and, Garrett's a great player, and, my job is to help bring out the best in him and vice versa, and that goes for all of my teammates. And so, really, I just want to continue to build on our chemistry. We're working extremely hard on the field, and every single day I can see the progress. And so that's a good sign, but obviously we're long on working.
Well, we talked about Brees Hall. He talked about how y'all working out together.
Yeah.
Like that. How's it been getting to know him every day?
Yeah, it's cool, man. Like, he was training in Florida, down in Miami, and, with one of my old trainers, and, I was training somewhere else, and I just kind of, left that alone. I went to where Brees was at. The minute I knew I was going to be here, it was extremely important for me to get to know him off the field, and that goes for all of my teammates as well, to get to know these guys off the field so we can develop that bond and that trust. Where when we step on the field, we all understand that we're playing for one another. And, Brees is a great guy. I got that feeling from him the first, moment I met him. But he's also a great player. And so, again, I want to try and bring out the best in him. And I know he's going to push me as well.
Obviously it's so early, but what are your biggest takeaways from these first 2 days about what this team is capable of?
Man, I see a lot of potential. I see a lot of potential in this team. I think AG is doing a great job at, showing us the vision of what he wants for the team and how he wants us to go out there and play and be Jets. And, for me, as the quarterback of the team, I know that there's a lot of work to be put in. And so I really focus on that is, try to focus on the day-to-day, just getting better, leading the guys, bringing that energy, that juice to the practice field so that we can all, go out there and execute the plays we need to. And then, as the days go by, just continuing to get better and continuing to compete. I mean, that's really all it's about.
You know the history of the history of this franchise, and obviously, how much have you thought about being the guy now to finally end that playoff streak?
Yeah, I mean, those things are so far ahead of us, Me being in the league as long as I've been, I understand that you can only focus on what's right in front of you, and that's being in the moment, staying in the moment. We want to be the best team in the world. I don't feel shy about saying that, but I understand that there's a lot of work, like I said, to be done, and you got to focus on the work. You focus on getting better every single day, and then you focus on your performance on Sundays or whenever the day comes. And it's a collective thing. We all got to make up our minds and say this is what we're going to be. And I can see that building, but it's still, so early in the process.
How are you a different quarterback and a different person from the first time you were here?
I've just gotten older. A lot more experience. Overall, I've always felt like I've had talent, but I feel like my fundamentals have grown, and that's on and off the field. I feel like the leadership aspect has grown throughout my experience in the league and all the great quarterbacks that I've been around, great coordinators, as well as just, I'm a lot more calm. It's a lot less of what am I, trying to figure out what to expect. I kind of know what to expect now. And so just a lot more calm in my demeanor. You guys might notice that, but overall, still the same guy, still got the same passion for the game, still study as hard as I did when I was, a rookie trying to figure out the NFL. And for me, it's just about getting better every day. And that's where, I put my focus.
Did you feel pressure the first time because you were such a high draft choice?
I put a lot of pressure on myself, and the pressure for me was to go out there and, try and make something of my NFL career. And I think that goes for everybody who gets drafted into the NFL or who gets a chance in the NFL. The key thing for me back then was, put the time in, put the work in, figure out the unknowns. There's a lot of unknowns for a rookie. Now that I've, played in the league for, a number of years, there's a lot less unknowns. And so it just allows me to process things a little bit faster, but you're still learning. Anybody will tell you that there's always going to be a lot of learning going on, in the NFL because it's, it's the best of the best. And
I'm sure we all have stories about Geno if you're old enough. Just how you felt about him when he was drafted, what your aspirations were, what your overall expectations were. He wasn't a first rounder, and I think that helps a little bit. We were just talking about pressure, but it's New York, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, just look at all the attention Cade's getting, and he was a fourth rounder. What I remember, and I know a lot of us, it's hard to get over the whole incident, the fight. But the thing that really sticks out to me when I remember Geno and his maturation process, and when I first felt that he could be our quarterback, I really felt it was a primetime game, and it was against Atlanta, and I forget exactly what the situation was. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Let's check out when it was. Let's see. What year was it? Okay, where is Geno? All right, so here we go. So probably was here. Let's see, when they played Atlanta. Here it is. So this was it right here. All right, so they went from 2-2 to 3-2. Let's see, what did we do this year? 8-8. We won 3 of the last 4, so it really wasn't that good. But hey, we take it, right? We'll take it this year. 8-8, yeah. Well, 8-9. So this was the game. All right. And I remember, let's see, what did he do? What did Geno do in this game? All these fucking ads, man. So let's see. So he's got the 20-yard pass, the 16-yard touchdown pass to go up 17, 7. Looks like we're leading throughout. Another touchdown pass to Kellen Winslow. Wow, Kellen Winslow. And see, and then we blew the lead. They take the lead for the first time in the game since early second. And Geno leads us into field goal range for a Nick Folk. See, I don't even remember any of this stuff. All I remember is that this game stuck out to me where I said, we might have a quarterback. And I felt proud about Geno's performance. I don't even know what he did statistically. Let's see what he did. 16-20, 3 touchdowns, no picks. There you go. Not bad. So you see, that's why that game stuck out to me. Because it was a primetime game, and when you're playing primetime football, you know, you gotta, let's see, here it is. You know, he's a rookie. What year did he come in? 2012, 2013? No, 2013. Yeah. And for a rookie, I mean, let me take a look at Geno. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so let's see. These were his stats as a rookie. 12 touchdowns, 21 interceptions, only 55% completion percentage, but he did throw for over 3,000 yards. I mean, and that would turn out to be Geno's game over his career. Geno is not afraid to throw the football. And we're going to deal with a lot of Geno interceptions. It would be very surprising if Geno kept his interceptions to single digits. The hope is that those touchdown passes are big enough that compensates for the interceptions. So what I'm hoping for, like, is something like here, right here, somewhere around here, 30, 11, 4,000 yards. Look at that, 69 completion percentage. Now, this was only his first full season as a starter with Seattle, his first full season starting since second year with the Jets. And so even last year, he was at 67% and threw for 3,000 yards. But he threw 17 interceptions. He at least threw 19 touchdowns. All right, so that's the thing. And look, we're going to be a better coach team. We're going to be a better defensive team than the Raiders. We're going to run the ball more effectively. We're going to give him an opportunity to stand in the pocket longer. And that's why I put him more in this area here. You got to remember, back in those first couple of years that he was with Seattle, it wasn't like Seattle was. Anybody was really thinking about them as a Super Bowl team. Now, they were a perennial playoff team, and Pete Carroll always had them, competitive. But when Russell Wilson left and Geno took over, there wasn't a lot of people who were thinking Seattle was going to be relevant. So for Geno, and that was the thing. And that's why even the last year in Seattle, I really don't. I mean, look at that. That was his last year in Seattle. He throws for 4,300 yards, 70. So that's his career high, his career best completion percentage, and his career best win percentage. And he moved on from him. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't really know the specifics about it, but unless it was more about Sam is a better fit with what we're doing, play action, it was very important. He's not a gunslinger like Geno. We're going to have to win with defense, special teams, and running the football, and timely play action passing. And it worked out. You got to give the Seattle Seahawks all the credit in the world. And are we looking, am I trying to break down Geno now to win a Super Bowl next year? No. All I'm trying to do is get back to right about anywhere in here is fine. One game over 500, 1 game, 3 games over 500, somewhere between 64 and 70%, somewhere between 35 and 4,000. Well, that would be great, wouldn't it? 4,000. but I'd be happy with 3,600 yards and about 25 to 30 touchdowns. And I'm going to accept, 10 to 12 interceptions if that's what we have. But yeah, that's kind of what I remember about Geno. And I really, everything just happened so fast when he left, but we were just, we were the Jets. And we did shit like this. We let quarterbacks leave the building a little bit too early.
And you got to get better.
So you don't feel that type of pressure anymore?
Honestly, I don't want to, say this the wrong way, but I don't feel like I have any pressure, honestly. I feel really great. I feel really excited. Instead of, it being negative, it's really positive. I'm very excited about where we're headed. But no, I don't feel any pressure.
Obviously,
For a second, I thought, according to Gio on Boomerang Gio, that none of these players wanted to come to the Jets. That the players that the Jets traded for, Geno Smith, Minka Fitzpatrick, they didn't want to come to the Jets. They had to be forced into it through a trade. That's according to Gio, that the Jets are the only team in the NFL that has to trade for players who don't want to go there.
You wanted to with the Raiders too. Do you feel like you have something to prove after a year like that?
Yeah, there's always going to be something to prove. Whether you win a Super Bowl, you make a Pro Bowl, if you're all pro, it's a year-to-year league, and so there's always going to be something to prove, and that's internal. I don't have anything to prove to anyone outside. It's really about proving to myself and the guys inside this locker room that we can be the team that we, want to be. And we have a vision for ourselves, but all the outside noise, I've developed, a way to block it out. And, for me, I put the pressure on myself, though. There's pressure within myself to get better every single day.
What's been your impression of Cade since you've gotten a chance to again?
Shoot, man, Cade's been doing great. He can spin the heck out of the ball. I feel like he's a guy who's always prepared. He's been preparing as if he's going to be a starter, and that's something that's important in this league. You have to prepare every single day like you're the starter, like you're going to be out there playing. That's the only way to do it, and I've seen that from him. I think he's got a bright future.
Last one here.
Geno, people always love a great comeback story. So with you, have you allowed yourself to think like how cool it would be if you were the guy, to get this thing turned around here, considering you were here so many years ago and come back and like.
Yeah, that'd be like a story in a movie, right? It's kind of like one of those superhero movies. But my life is based on reality, and we got to focus on, like I said, getting better every single day. God has blessed me to play in the league this long and to have an opportunity to come back here. I'm very, very grateful for that because they don't come too often. These opportunities, you have to cherish them. And that's the way I look at it. I really cherish this opportunity. I really look forward to, again, just going to practice tomorrow and trying to get better. And that's the way I'm going to treat this entire year and the entirety of the rest of my career.
All right, let's see.
How does it feel to be back?
And before we move on with Geno, another thing, I don't know how you guys felt about it when he left, but I always follow Geno. A matter of fact, I actually used to, because I do so much research with every team, and it's really important, I think, to check out preseason games, to find out what's going on with the depth on a team. So, you're starving for football in August, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there do the same thing, where you record as many. I record every game, and so I'm watching every game, watching the full game, but I'm trying to fast forward to the parts of the players I want to see. And for years, that's what I would do whenever I would be at a game or with the team that Geno was on. I'd want to find out, I don't care about the starter. I'm going to see, I want to see how Geno goes. I always root for him. It's always see how we did in the preseason. And I don't know. I I guess because the times are different, it's now more believable that these sort of situations can happen. Not that they haven't happened. There have been a lot of stories in the NFL where players kind of just journeymen, and then in their 30s, they pop up some situation. I mean, the Raiders are infamous for this. The Redskins were infamous for this. The Mark Rippons of the world, the Jim Plunkett's, those types of players. So you get these guys, these experienced quarterbacks, and you surround them with talent, and you win a Super Bowl. And so I know that stuff was out there, but I never really thought that the way things were going, I even though I was hoping for it, and I was always rooting for him, I never thought it would happen. I never thought he'd get his chance. Because when you watched him in the preseason, he didn't get the chance to play with the best talent. He was always the backup. He would go from team to team, not every year, but, and he was never going to be the quarterback unless it was an injury. And he would never be in that situation. And so it's one of those things, sort of like what we've seen with Zach the last few years. Zach just has never been in the situation where there's been an injury and he's been able to come in and do something. And that's why I feel with Zach. I mean, I'm going to root for Zach. It's not just because they're Jets. I mean, if I didn't feel that there was something about these kids that I wanted to root for, then I wouldn't do it. But I always had something in Geno, and I always felt that if he had a chance, that I'd like to see what the tools that he had when he was younger, if they could actually blossom into a quality quarterback, and he showed it, and it was just amazing to see. But it's in Seattle and NFC, and he never really, I don't know. It's just as great it was to see what he did to transform himself. Nothing beats this. Nothing. But it all depends on how he plays. We all know that. Okay. And what we don't want to see and what won't be good is if Geno comes here, he's here, and he either gets injured like Aaron Rodgers and has a hard time playing, or he just doesn't ever return to the player that he at least was for a short while in Seattle. So nothing is given to us, as we know.
Amazing. Really just to be back on the grass, playing football again. It's just back to the work. No matter how many years you play in this business, every year it's the same. You're starting at ground zero, whether you're the last team in the league or the first team in the league. It's really a race to the starting line. And every day, first of all, it's a blessing just to be here and be in this business and be a part of it. You have to appreciate it.
How awesome is this, huh? How awesome is this getting Demario Davis back? And I'm not sure if you know this, he actually set career highs in tackles in his final 2 years at New Orleans. How crazy is that at this age? Now, you could say that, well, he should. He knows everything about the game. He knows where to be. And when you're an inside linebacker, sometimes your stats can get inflated. And we see that now in the NFL. We see guys with 170 tackles, but the difference is whether or not you can do all the intangibles. What kind of a leader are you? What kind of a difference maker are you in the locker room? How are you teaching the younger players around you? What kind of difference makers are you able to impact the game with? So all that stuff is something that we're going to find out about Demario Davis. And look, when Mosley was with the Jets, unfortunately we had to deal with an injury situation. But when he played, he was very effective for a couple of years, and it was really important for the defense. And so much so that we saw exactly how much we missed him. And so we're all hopeful that. And I know there's a lot of rumors out there, not necessarily by the national media, but by Jet fans, mostly thinking about, well, is Sherwood going to get traded and all that stuff. And I don't actually think that that's going to happen now. I think if it would have happened, it would have happened before the draft. but I guess it's still possible. It all depends on some of the other players that have got to pick things up for the team, but I just don't see a lot of depth there at this linebacker position. So that's why I kind of doubt that's going to happen. Plus, not sure why you want to do that anyway. You could afford him. And if he could go back to being the player he was a couple of years ago, that was a good player. And why can't he be that player? And we just got to hope that the majority of the reason why he wasn't as effective was because of the added responsibilities. And look, as much as we can sit here and tell you that he didn't have a great year, the fact is he still was pretty good, pretty darn good against the run, just like Demario Davis is.
But once you get out there on the field, you're in these meetings, taken to the field, it's all about how fast can we get to where we need to be by week 1. And every team is in that same race, and somebody's going to separate themselves. So it feels great to be back. Feels great to be playing football. Feels great to be back in the hunt.
Did you think you'd be back here?
And you know what? I want to, I mentioned this before, Mike Vrabel and his little mistress. I talked about how she made a really juvenile remark. And you can look it up. It was right around, I don't remember when it was, but it's probably in March. And she made a remark sort of like that Demario Davis, because he said some really positive things about coming to the Jets. And she like scoffed at it. Almost like, yeah, right. Like you're really excited about coming to the Jets. And again, I mean, I get it. You're not working for the big boys anymore, but still, it was so juvenile. And she was so anti-Jet. And that's the reason why when the Aaron Rodgers stuff came out, I remember going after her big time. I probably have the video on the Prime Sports Network channel that I have that's still active. And I'm going to start to actually put some of these videos on there, try to see if we can get some extra publicity for what we're doing here. And I remember going over everything that she talked about. I think it was pretty sure it was Rosenblatt teamed up with her, did this story on Aaron Rodgers. You might remember it. It was in The Athletic. And I remember just tearing it apart because all it had were rumors and innuendo. There was nothing. Nobody that she could actually credit anything that she was saying. And we were supposed to believe that Aaron Rodgers was just such a bad guy and was no good. Because you got to understand, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, he's such a polarizing player politically. And it's easy to sniff out the people who are A, being political, and B, what side they're politicizing. Those people are the majority of the ones in the media that can't get enough of bashing Aaron Rodgers. Because in reality, look, it didn't work out for the Jets, but I don't remember Aaron Rodgers really being like some bad egg for the Jets. I just don't. It just didn't work out. He wanted to be here. It was Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, and they decided no, it was not right for the organization. It needed to move forward. Now, whether or not it could have been better for him to be here last year, I mean, okay, but you know what? Maybe if we had won a few more games last year, in December, when we had a god-awful team and Brady Cook was our quarterback, well, we wouldn't have a prized pass rusher right now. And maybe we wouldn't even have a prized tight end. Well, actually, yeah, that would have had that. But maybe we wouldn't have, because we would have been picking a little bit later. So, look, I'm just happy the way everything turned out. And as far as Davis, I just think he's going to do a tremendous job in the locker room. It is so understated about how important this is, as far as the coaching, as far as the new coaches we have, as far as the new leadership we have in the locker room. This is meaningful, very meaningful.
Yes.
Man can make all the plans they want in life, but one thing I realize is what's going to happen to you in this world is not your say-so. It's all about how you respond to it. I never would have thought in a million years that I would be back 2 times, let alone 3 times. But for me, I always try to find a positive perspective, and I guess this is just where I'm meant to be. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm happy. My family's happy. Everything feels right. I'm playing with a coach that I believe in more than anything. We've been together for a long time in this league. I'm playing with a locker room full of brothers that I enjoy being around every day. I got a position coach who pushes me. So it's a lot of fun showing up to work each and every day. Guess what? We 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in, and it's been a joy to come to work every day. And so it's a good situation to be in.
Mario, what's it been like being back with Geno after all these years, and what have you noticed? What are your observations just in terms of, how he might be different now than he was as a young pup back in the day?
This is a high-level business. To play past 3 years, 8 years, a decade in this business is very tough. Just ask guys who've done it. And to do it at the most important position says a lot. To do it as a starter says even more. So you would have at this point what you would believe to have is the reason he keeps ending up on rosters. It's the reason he keeps ending up in the starting lineup. So I'm excited to have him in the point of his career. But what I get a chance to see is what probably many people don't see is his personality. And here's somebody who comes to work every day with the right attitude, extremely competitive, one of the most competitive guys I've been around. And his spirit and continence is right. It's something about him when you're around him. I wasn't around him for a multitude of years, but he's obviously walked through different things in life that's brought his continence and his spirit to a place of peace. He's very comfortable in his skin. He knows who he is. He's arriving at this moment with his mind right, and you can feel it. And so it's a joy to have that competitive counterpart going against every day. And that's what our coach has been preaching about the team is competition. Competition and execution. So if you watch our practices, you can tell it's extremely competitive. But then that allows the coaches to put a supreme pointer on execution and the demand that it takes to play at a high level in this game. We have a lot of work to do. And this was day 2 on the field, and we just laying brick by brick. And that's all we can do is try to win the day in front of us. The practice felt great today. It was very competitive, but there's a lot of execution stuff that we got to work on, and that's what we're going to the film room and get because, as I said, we're in a race to the starting line.
What has been your impression of the defense? AG is kind of run and the scheme on and have a chance to put it to it.
Man, I'm just excited. I'm excited about the guys that they brought together between Mooj and Aaron Glenn. I got a chance to talk to Mooj at practice. It's just a talented roster. It's talented in terms of the guys that are out there that are proven and talented in terms of the guys that have potential to grow. And so when you have that right mix of guys who are proven and then the young guys who are developing, able to watch somebody at their position who's done it for a long time, it's what you need. You need a talented roster to compete in this game. That gives you a shot. And then it comes down to the execution and staying healthy. But when you think about playing, first it starts with the run game. On defense, you got to be able to stop the run. And so when you playing behind guys like Harrison Phillips and Jawan Briggs, Tavondre Sweat, David Onyemata, Osai on the outside, Kingsley on the outside, Will McDonald on the outside, the young guy David Bailey going to be on the outside. When you're thinking about that level of speed on the outside and that density up front for a linebacker, that's very exciting. And then you got one of the most tenured defensive line coaches in the game and Carl Dunbar coaching all those guys. And you know what it's supposed to look like. I got a chance to, when I first came in the league, we were one of the most dominant run defenses, and he was a big part of that. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. And, playing with somebody like Sherwood beside me, a guy with that explosiveness, able to be sideline to sideline, match guys up in coverage. It just gets you excited, and that's not even going to the back end. But I think the first thing for a good defense, foundationally, you have to be able to stop the run.
What are your
Yep.
Yeah, what are your early thoughts about just David Bailey and just what he can bring to this defense?
I think time will tell. There's a reason why you're the number 2 draft pick. He's the most dominant pass rusher in the draft. And I think when you can get a guy like that and you sound in other areas, it takes a lot of weight off of him where he can do what he does best, which is be able to get after the pass rush. Playing for a defensive line coach like Carl Dunbar, he's not going to accept you just being a one-way player. Coming from Pittsburgh, you watch those guys on the edge, Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, you see those guys, they're dominant in the run and the pass. And that's what it's going to be expected of him. I think he's one of those guys that has a tremendously high ceiling. And I think he shows up to work with the right attitude. He's very humble. And that's a big part, I think, with rookies. If they come in and they're grateful for the opportunity and don't have a sense of entitlement, that's a big separator because they're going to be appreciative of every day and they're going to put the work in. And the only time that hard work beats talent is when talent doesn't work hard. When you're talented and you work hard, it's harder to miss than it is to make it.
A couple more?
With David Onyemata, who you played with the Saints, what is he going to bring to the defense, and how much can he help the run defense?
I don't want to make a preposterous statement, but because I played with a lot of guys, but he's easily top 5, one of the best run defenders I've ever played with. I mean, he makes a noticeable difference in the game. In our time with the Saints, every year that he was on our roster, we were in the top 5 of the defense in the league. In almost every category you look at, you go back and check that track record. Just especially at our height. I mean, he was just a big force, especially on short yardage downs and when teams trying to run downhill or try to run stretch. He's just a guy who can play on the back side of a play and the front side of a play, commands double teams, and he's effective as a pass rusher and putting pressure up the middle. But as a guy that will continue to champion for a defense, you have to stop the run to be an effective defense, and you need guys who can do it. On the back end, it's a lot more that goes into it, but up front, you just got to be a dog. And you got to have enough dogs up front to get the job done. And, when they snap the ball, it's just me versus the man in front of me. And when you have that mentality, the technique, you can find that. But that mindset, and he's one of the ones that just has it.
What have you learned about your new quarterback?
Yeah, man. He's awesome to be around. He's a really good communicator. We're able to digest this stuff we're all learning very well. And then not to mention, he just shows a really friendly ball. One of those that really easy to catch. You have no problem running right at it. It's friendly. So Geno's been great this last month, and I look forward to getting to know him even more.
Garrett, back on last season, just how difficult was that for you with the injuries?
Yeah.
It's going to be really a big year for Garrett because first of all, he's coming off the injury, so he cannot get injured again. Okay. Every player can have one season where you miss a few games, that's okay. But after signing the big deal, that's it. You got to stay healthy now. That's number 1. Number 2 is he's never had a quarterback like this ever. Okay. So again, he had Aaron Rodgers, but he's an older player and it's just a different player. I mean, Geno is, I'm trying to say this the best way possible because we know Aaron is a Hall of Famer and there's no comparison when it comes to the careers of Aaron Rodgers and Geno. But at this stage of their careers, Geno, again, we showed you the numbers. Geno is going to, with this offense, he's going to put up big numbers. So they got to go somewhere. And there's a lot of talent out there, but Garrett's the main guy. So he's going to get every opportunity now anywhere on the field. Short, intermediate, long. He's going to get opportunities. And we need to see the best of Garrett Wilson now. This is it. Because let's just say, best case scenario, Geno plays really well for a couple of years, and the Jets also like everything they've seen in Cade, and Cade's their future. Okay, and Cade now takes over whenever he takes over in 2028, let's say. That what we're seeing now is what we're going to see now in the next several years as he's going, if he's in the prime of his career. I mean, he's even. I look at some players and still, like, I can say that there are even some players in their 30s that are in the prime of their careers. You know, it depends on what position they play because of experience. And Garrett he's in the prime of his career because of youth. I mean, he's nowhere near old yet. And so this is his opportunity to have a quarterback that is a gunslinger with a strong arm, and he's going to get you the football. And you've got to now show everybody just how good you are. So he's going to have the opportunity in the next couple of years to put up the biggest numbers that he's ever going to be able to put up in his career. This is going to be it, these next few years. And again, if Cade can take over in 3 years, in 2028, let's say, then he'll be 2 years experience. Maybe he'll get in a few starts the next couple of years, and then there'll be a seamless transition from Geno to Cade. And Garrett can continue to play at a very high level for as long as he's got speed and it can stay healthy. So I want to see it stay healthy first, but it's time to go out there and be every bit as good as you can be. The best of Garrett Wilson we're going to see. Fantasy-wise, if you're ever thinking of taking Garrett Wilson, I don't know where to take him, of course. We'll talk about that when we start really diving into fantasy soon. And I'll be doing that on the RLS football channel, not here. But, man, now's the time to take Garrett. And then it's up to him to put up.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It was one of those things where, you know, in hindsight, I look at it and it's like, all right, maybe you needed it, because I hadn't been out for, you know, extended period of time up to that point. And it really allowed me to change my point of view and just kind of look at some things from a different angle. So, you know, I don't want to sit here and act like I didn't get anything out of it, but not playing football, you know, which is ultimately what I was brought here to do, it hurt me, you know, and it's never been brought upon me like that, you know. So it was a little different, but not to mention, I just needed to change my scope on things, right? That is what's at risk every time I take the field, and you know, maybe I was getting a little bit too comfortable. So, yeah, you know, I'm happy to be back now.
How do you feel now?
I feel great, man. I surprised myself a little bit, and you know, it took a little longer initially than I expected, and you know, we got to the off season, and all of a sudden I had time, and I was ready to go a little bit sooner. So, you know, now it's just getting back comfortable playing, you know, getting back used to a guy on you while you're running routes, stuff like that, stuff you can't really mimic until you're doing the real thing. So I feel great. But as far as, you know, getting back to myself, you know, I got some work to do. I'm excited, though. I'm excited. It's going to be a journey. And, yeah, man, I'm not that far off. I don't want to scare nobody. I'm good. I just, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I got a different standard that I just want to get back to. And you know, that's the mission.
You say you think you got a little too comfortable. What do you mean by that?
Just as far as, you know, going out to practice and not knowing what's at stake every time. We play a dangerous game, you know, and I think, you know, when you go, I mean, I had been since my senior year without missing time, you know, and that happened off the field. I never really had an injury happen on the field. And I think when it goes like that, all of a sudden you start to get so used to playing that next Sunday coming that practice, you're going to have that opportunity to correct that route you didn't love from the game, right? But the reality of it is you got to have like a sniper mindset. You get one chance at this thing, right? And that kind of brought it into perspective for me, is what I meant by that.
Garrett,
You talked about
Brees obviously just signed his new contract.
Yeah.
What your reaction was when it happened, and then you kind of mentioned that. You guys like talked about how you look around and like a lot of the guys that came in with, and like it's been so much change over the course of these.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, man, I was just super excited to see Brees get locked up because that's one of the guys I came in with, and that day we got drafted, some of y'all probably remember, like, we had big plans, and you couldn't have told us we weren't going to go accomplish, everything we had talked about as a group, and to look around and still know that, I got a guy that I talked about that with, and that, we didn't, it's not a failure. It got delayed. It sucks to see some of the guys that we came in with not here, as far as just like what Brees is talking about. But that's the reality of this thing when you don't go play good ball. So the reality of it is we got to figure this thing out, and we're on the proud to do it. And you got a guy like Brees to make it a whole lot easier, man. He's special at what he does, one of the best in the league, and I'm excited that they locked him down, because we're gonna need him, man. That boy can play, and not to mention he just knows what it's gonna take to turn this thing around, and he's excited for it.
Another reason why there should be a pressure on Garrett is because not just because he's got a quarterback that is going to get him the ball, but it's because, and this is where I think I was trying to get to before, it's not just it was Aaron Rodgers against Geno, but remember back then when Davante Adams was here, that was Aaron's boy. So it was good for Garrett to get out there with a quality receiver. But Geno is going to get the ball to Garrett. It's going to be his number one guy. There's going to be no doubt about that. And so he's going to get his chances. But what will also happen is that for the first time in Garrett's career, he's got Breece Hall in the backfield. He's going to have Kenyon Sadiq. He's going to have Taylor. He's going to have, let's just take a look at the depth now we have at receiver. How excited are we about this depth at receiver? Now, can Adonai Mitchell, can he take that next step? Well, you know what? I'm not so sure many of us fans are counting on that. I think we're hoping. And we've been disappointed a lot, but we're still going to hope. He's got the tools. And just imagine if he actually does become the player that he was envisioned to become. Let's take a look at the scouting report. This was the actual scouting report in the Our Draft Guide. All right. So missed 9 games due to injury in 2022 before transferring to Texas and leading the Big 12 in touchdowns. Combination size, smooth movement traits, and ball skills make him a dangerous weapon at all levels of the route tree. Talks about how he needs to be more consistent, effort, concentration. Worst case would be a good red zone threat, third down target. All the traits are there for him to be a high-end possession receiver at the next level. Ability to gain separation and trick defensive backs with double routes. He's not a vertical route runner. You see that here. That's okay. That's not what his job is going to be here either. Just 1 drop since the start of 2022. So we know he's got the hands. And I know he had some hand issues as a rookie with the Colts, but he's a rookie. That's going to happen. Footwork and snappy hips give him high-end route running upside. Strong in traffic. Coordinated. Attacking the ball. Effort as a ball carrier, blocker. Not consistent, and his ability after the catch never made an impact. Okay? Now, this is important here. Because this is something, if you are going to be physical and you're in the NFL now, this is something that I'm sure he's had to learn. And if you are going to be an effective receiver at this level, and if he's going to be able to take that next step, this has to improve. So keep an eye on that. See how he attacks the ball in traffic. That's important. Blocker. Not very consistent. That's something to keep an eye on as well, because you know Aaron Glenn, and you know the makeup that he wants, both for his receivers and for his defensive backs. You've got to be able to be tough, Defensive backs, they got to be able to tackle, especially the running game. And wide receivers, you better be able to block. Also, keep an eye on that. Now, this was always something that we really heard was the most important thing, though, because a lot of this stuff, every receiver has some parts of his game that they have to improve upon. But this was something that really did stick out. Was he the type of player that you felt, whether he loved the game or not, but whether he was always giving effort all the time. And sure, you know, when it appears a player may not give effort sometimes, you do have to wonder whether they love the game or not. So that was the thing. You know, you never know. It's out there, but then it's up to the scouts to talk to coaches, to talk to the player, and to kind of feel what is more true than not. And maybe they'll see in film exactly what everybody else is seeing to make these statements. And they're able to differentiate whether or not, you know, it's a little overblown. But that was something that we kind of felt, okay, that might be the difference in whether or not he becomes a bust, or that is just something that will never really impact his NFL career. Let's see. Anyway, yeah. And in closing, same thing. Should be able to play more of a power game. Okay, so it's got to be more physical. Got to be more physical at the catch point. It's got to be more physical in the run game, and yeah, plays on his own clock. See, so this is what we have to keep an eye on with Adonai Mitchell this year. When you're looking at him at practice, when you're looking at him in preseason games, because we're going to find out in practice this season, OTAs, moving on to training camp, preseason games. We're going to have a good idea before the first regular season game just how much he's growing as a receiver. But keep an eye on those items that we just went over. But that's why bringing in Tim Patrick was a very smart move, because Tim Patrick he's basically insurance, and he's going to help Adonai, and he's also going to push Adonai. So, I mean, there's nothing about the Tim Patrick signing that is an issue. See, last year when they brought in Reynolds, I was just really, I mean, you could see that receiver room was so bad. And Reynolds was like a starter for us. And it was like, oh, this is not good. Not good at all. And I would have said same thing if Tim Patrick was on last year's team. I would have been, this is what you brought in. This is it. He's like our starter. He's like our number 2, number 3 receiver. But on this team, Tim Patrick, you know, really that's all he is insurance. If some of these guys don't pan out, does Adonai take the next step? How does Omar Cooper look as a rookie? Will Arian Smith take that next step? Now, I made this comment on one of the other shows about the report. SNY, they do a great job. Again, I was Rosenblatt doing one of the videos, and he talked about how he made it sound like Arian Smith is already done. Oh, yeah, they burned that 4th round pick again on a wide receiver, and he'll be lucky to make the team. It's like, what are you talking about? How did you come up to that conclusion that Arian Smith is like going to be lucky to make this team and he's already a bust? When did anybody think, when Arian Smith got drafted last year, we all talked about the hands issue. Did anybody recall in some of the, even he didn't play a lot, but in the time that he was out there playing, did anybody notice these like big drops? Because they're easy to catch, no pun intended. And no, we didn't, because he didn't really get a whole lot of playing time, but that's okay. Why didn't he? Because he's a rookie 4th round draft pick. And he's playing with garbage quarterbacks, and that's before Brady Cook took over. So how did you expect him to develop last year? It's just, comment made no sense whatsoever. It's actually a comment that sounded to me like he was someone that probably, and I don't remember what his feelings were when they picked him, but he might have been very critical of the drops and all that. And was like, yeah, you know what, I don't know about this guy, and I already have a preordained opinion, if that makes any sense, about what I feel about this player. And so I don't see anything. I don't see him making big plays. I don't even see he's out there. Oh, that's a bust. I mean, dude, calm down. Okay? So we'll find out. Just like Adonai Mitchell, we're going to find out during OTAs. We're going to find out at training camp and in the preseason if Arian Smith is going to have a hard time making his team or not. Now, I think he's going to have to be really bad to not make the team. Okay? For them to give up on a 4th-round pick with his speed, the whole reason that they picked him up, he's going to have to be really bad. And I just don't see that because he's going to get better coaching now. So he's even going to be better than what we saw last year, or else that's what you expect. And even though the receiver room is more competitive, hey, he's got a job, one job on this team, and something that nobody else on this team could really do. And that is get lost in the shuffle when you've got the Sadiqs out there and the Garrett Wilsons out there and the Omar Coopers out there. And let's say Adonai Mitchell is playing well, then what you want Arian Smith to do is get lost in the mix, go that way. Go as fast as you can that way. And if the secondary is going to be cautious regarding his speed, of course, the first thing you have to do is make sure that you complete some of these passes. So on film, they go, wait a second, we got to stop this guy. What do you think that does? That opens up all the other options from the receivers and the intermediate routes, and it also opens up the running game. So you want to be rooting for Arian Smith a lot. Okay, so don't forget about Arian Smith. So you got Omar Cooper, Arian Smith, Adonai Mitchell, and even Isaiah Williams. Even when Isaiah played, he looked pretty good, didn't he, as a receiver? Now, for a number 6 receiver who's going to be primarily a weapon in the return game, I think he's pretty darn good. And I look at this receiving room and I say, this is the deepest receiving room we have ever had. And that includes the fact that we have, I mean, even Skinner showed something last year in the preseason. McClain was the number 2 receiver for Arizona State last year. So, I think he'll be on the practice squad if he does well. Same thing with Lacey. I think he might make the practice squad. We'll see how he goes. I don't think Sheffield, I'm a Rutgers kid, but Sheffield, too many drops. He's small. I don't really think he has a chance. So I really wouldn't count on that. But the bottom line is Garrett Wilson is going to get a ton of opportunity now because he's not only going to have a quarterback that can get him the football, but he has all of these other wide receivers and tight ends as other options that are going to give him all the chance in the world to have a really big season.
So, yeah.
What have you learned about Geno, the person, dealing with him and everything like that? Because he's obviously been through a lot.
No, 100%, man. And you start to realize, people go through a lot, and how do they come out on the other side of that? And when I met him, it was like, oh, that's how he came out of it, man. He's a top-notch human, a guy that as a receiver, we search out for, we want to talk to our quarterbacks. We want to have those conversations. We want to know what they're thinking, because at the end of the day, we want to catch the ball, right? So it's like, hey, what do you think so I can catch the ball? And that's the reality of it. And he's super receptive on all that, been super awesome. Not to mention just the way he was able to, he was so good at verbalizing the offense and what Coach Reich had talked about him or talked to him about early on, that I thought it was Geno's offense that he had kind of brought with him from the past. But no, man, he's just that receptive, that willing to learn, and I think that says a lot about someone. And you start to realize, oh, he's been in here 10, 12 years in the league. I don't know how long he was here, but when he, a lot of guys, when they're first place and it didn't go the way they wanted to, they don't ever make that rise back to the top. We got 2 guys in that have been on the Jets, didn't go the way they wanted, and they wanted to come back and prove something, right? that are great players, already proved enough, but they want to come back and prove it here, and that's special to me. And when you meet him, it just reverberates through him, man. He's a great guy, and not to mention, I can't wait to keep building our chemistry.
What's it been like learning Frank Reich's new offense? Because this is your fourth new offense in 5 years.
Yeah, it's been great, honestly. This is, probably one of the offenses that I'm gonna look back on in a few years and love the most. It's really player empowering, I'll say. I don't really know how else to put it. It's just as receiver empowering, skill position empowering. You got a guy that's played quarterback and kind of gets it as far as the instinct side of football, the side of it that's not going to be perfect, that the way we drew it up on paper, but you got to embrace that. There's a way to train people to make the right decision when it isn't going perfect, and he focused on that, which I love. Right? If this guy guards it here, hey, you could sit there. That's the answer. And it sounds simple, but not everybody's like that. Sometimes the way it's installed is the way it's going to be ran every time, and as a player, you got to get on the train or you're going to get left behind. This guy's more of we're all on this train together, and if we got to slow down to bring him along, we're going to bring him along. He's a little different, his running style, so we got to find a way to get him the ball on time, and you just don't see that as much, and I think that I really appreciate that about Frank. You could tell he's been around the block, been around a lot of different receivers, different personalities, and he just, man, he's great, man. He's great. So I'm excited to go bring all his thoughts and his dreams to life, bro, because we got a special opportunity, and I know he's excited too to be a part of this thing.
Garrett, what's it been like the last couple of weeks, just to be in the area and see what the Knicks are doing, and maybe glean some things from them and envision what it might be like when the Jets could.
Yeah, no doubt. I got a taste of that last year with the Knicks playing the Pacers and getting it to Game 7, I think it was, and then this year it's been turned up a notch, and it's cool, man. The city deserves it, right? And when you see the way they receive it, it's just like, oh yeah, I mean, you wish it could happen every year, man. Seeing the people, the way they get behind their team. I know Jet fans are like frothing at the mouth to cheer like that, and we want to give it to them. I personally want to give it to them, the most. So it's yeah, man, it's cool to see, and I'm glad I'm up here for it. I'm rooting the Knicks on like hell. And yeah, man, that gives us a taste of what it might look like when we figure this thing out, which, we're excited for the opportunity. Say it again. You know what? Nah. That's yeah. Nah. They got them John's expensive. So not yet. I'm gonna be watching.
There was a lot of optimism and excitement kind of this time last year too, when Coach Glenn came in. What gives you the confidence that now the right tools and people are in place to take that step forward towards a turnaround?
Yeah. I mean, just knowing AG, knowing the people that we have upstairs, I've got to have convos with them since day one, since, before last season. And they laid it out. They're pretty upfront about how this thing might look, how they want it to look, and how it might look, right? And obviously we wanted to go out and win the Super Bowl last year. That's how everyone's wired. But this year, second year, it feels a little different. We can talk about the Super Bowl. We could talk about the playoffs, stuff like that, because it's, it's just, we've been putting in, last year it was still so fresh, and everyone was coming in, meeting new people. Not that that's not the case this year. It's just less of it. And for me, it's like a comfortability level with my coach, with my receiver room. Certain things that are, you don't realize it when you don't have it, but it's priceless when you do have it, because it's just a comfortability about going to work. This season's got to be the best one. It's got to, because, we hear it. And that's just how I know the guys I talk to, that's how we feel about it. So it's I don't want to call it like, I don't know, you play the game, you play it to play at the highest level. From a young kid, I wanted to go play against the best, to prove it against the best, and ain't nothing changed as far as that. As competitors, we want to go do it at the highest level, and every day that's what we're working towards. and it feels like we can do it. You know, it's just, that's what it comes down to. You got to believe before anything happens. You got to believe, and the belief is high.
How does it feel to be back?
Okay, let's see if we have any more interesting interviews here. I think that's it for today. I think that's it. Okay. Well, that was awesome. We got 3 of them in. And I'm going to make sure that anytime, again, I don't know how often they're going to do this. I'm just going to guess that they're going to do it when the media is able to be out there. And I don't know what that schedule is like. So if it's every other day, whatever it is, then we'll be back. I will be here to react to every press conference. And again, it's not just about sitting here and watching a press conference. As you can see, I'm going to try to talk about the team, talk about the players. This is the very beginning stages too. These are the most boring because there's no games going on. But the more practice time there is, especially when we're in training camp, then and preseason games, then we're going to really start ramping up and understanding more about what we're hearing. And there's be a everyday press conference, training camp. So we're going to make sure that we're on top of all that, and we'll be able to give our feedback on everything that we think about what's happening with the Jets for this upcoming season and during the season. So it'd be great if you can be there with us. Subscribe to the channel, and I promise you that as a fan, I've got many years of experience as a New York Jet fan, and also, of course, in the media industry and covering the Jets. And I'm going to try to use the combination of being a fan, of course, maintaining an unbiased approach, and also being as positive as I can without kissing anybody's asses. We're not going to do that. We're going to be very critical when it's time to be critical. But when there's time to be positive, and when there's time to take the high road instead of the low road, every time you come to that fork in the road, and you know, a lot of the channels out there that when there's that fork in the road, they're always going to go negative. Well, we're not going to. When there's a fork in the road, we're going positive all the time. But when there's a definite, hey, something to be critical about, we'll be critical about it. Trust me. Okay, so anyway, thanks for tuning in. And we'll talk to you again next time right here on Jets Confidential. Jets Confidential. That's Dan Leberfeld's thing. Jets Chronicles. Probably not the last time I'm going to say that. Check out the links in the description of the video. You can check out my work at Ourlads. You can also purchase an Ourlads draft review guide. There's a page for the New York Jets in there. I put that report together, so I talk about all the draft picks, give a grade and all that kind of stuff. So you can check that out. Ourlads and the Ourlads draft guide. And again, you can also check me out over on the Ourlads YouTube channel. So I'll see you guys again real soon right here on Jets Chronicles.